fact that a major world cricket and former champions Sri Lanka got suspended. What do you think, guys, happened there?
I
I
think
think Sri Lanka has been on a downward slope for years on. So back in the day, once they lost their spine, the strong core that they had, especially Mahela and Sangakkara, on pure cricketing terms, they have been on a continuous downhill, and it just doesn't seem to end for them. It keeps getting from bad to worse, and when they think, okay, this is rock bottom, there is nothing beneath it, somebody brings in a dynamite and pops the rock and say, no, there is, you are going further down. And it's highly sad to see, because back in the day this used to be a team that irritated me so much when I used to watch cricket, because the steel that they had. Because first of all, this bald Sanat Jayasuriya, he would come, and that guy posed so much threat, because he made me shit my pants. There is no other way of putting it. Absolutely bludgeoning everything out of his way, and somehow we fortunately get him out, or he stupidly gets himself out after being putting on an absolute show. Sangakkara and Jayawardena comes, and these guys, they don't get out at all. And the kind of core that they had, they did not raise replacements in time. That's what I'm, because I very clearly remember this guy Mahela Jayawardena. Back in the day, I was a kid. I was watching cricket with my family on TV, suffering through all the PepsiCo ads, and he made me suffer more than the ads, because I very clearly remember Harbhajan Singh. Harbhajan Singh was one of India's top spinners back then, and Harbhajan Singh would come in. He would be giving trouble to everybody else. But Mahela Jayawardena, he had this very irritating reverse sweep, wherein he wouldn't be hitting the shot. He wouldn't be hitting the reverse sweep hard. He would be just bending, going on one knee and slowly hitting the ball. And the problem is, okay, I don't mind if the ball is rushing towards the boundary, because that is a four that is well earned. I don't mind if somebody whacks it over the mid wicket and it goes for a six, because there is no stopping it. But this guy Mahela Jayawardena, on the other hand, his ball trickles slowly and steadily with the fielder chasing it. Because up until the last moment, till the ball hits the boundary, the fielder would be chasing it. But in the end, the ball will beat the fielder and go for a four. He did that multiple times. So that kind of team that they had, they did not manage to replace the playoffs on time. They did not do the youth recruitment well, because in the end, they just kept up bringing in random mystery spinners who would perform in one tournament and then vanish into obscurity. So I think the losing of that spine, it's a failure. It's a systemic failure. But then at the same time, there is also the talent conveyor belt stopping, not denying it. But they had to realize how much they were reliant on a core of 3, 4, 5 players to take everything through. And once that core faded, I have massive respect to all those guys, Sangakkara, Jayawardena, was everybody. They did not replace. They were not prepared for the future. And then other things. So when it rains, it pours, and it has been pouring in Sri Lanka for a long time. So a lot of other things comes into the background, their economic downship and everything. You roll everything together, and rock bottom was never rock bottom. They are going all the way straight into the depths of hell, and doesn't look like
I
there's any
think, I
stop.
think, yeah. Speaking of rock bottom, you just spoke like the Rock in one breath. And thank you, VS, for turning back the clock, taking
it's
us
a
through what Sri
fascinating
Lanka
ride.
was,
Yeah.
used to be,
Yep.
and how they are now. And you are very right that one, the succession planning was bad, and two, there are a lot of extraneous factors, their economy, their political climate, and everything else playing into it, right? So, and all of them actually was a downward spiral happening. It's not something which is very sudden. It's been happening for a few years. Players not getting their payments on time. They are not getting fully paid as well. So a lot of issues between the board and the players and everything. And a lot to do with the economy, a lot to do with the politicians controlling the economy, and a lot to do with all those factors as well. And that's why a lot of political interference, because there's a lot of money matters between the politicians and the board members and the administrators of the game there. So, I don't know. But what I'm actually wondering is, who will India play their bilaterals with and try to
Kohli
improve
to start pad and get to that
their.
100 hundreds, right? So, Candle, before we jump in there, I think this is the first time that I've seen. I think I may have been too young when this happened to Zimbabwe. What are the implications of this? Does it mean that Sri Lanka can't play cricket against any team now?
Yeah, see, I mean, they're not, any suspension is temporary in nature, right? So I would think that they would probably be under evaluation. It's not, and ICC is not as strict a board like FIFA. Once you're banned, you're banned. The kind that happened with teams like Iran or Turkey and other teams in the past in football, where they get banned for political interference as well, and sometimes religious interference in Iranian football or Turkish football as well. Sometimes in the past that we have seen. But in this case, I feel that what they are essentially waiting for is for a board to be formed democratically. Right now, it's an interim board of members. They played this World Cup under an interim administration. It's a temporary administration put in place, makeshift, and not democratically elected. They were put in place by the politicians who are right now in power in Sri Lanka. The president, himself being in control of things. So I think that's where ICC probably took a call and felt that it needs to be a democratically elected board. So once that happens, Sri Lanka will be back into play. So at the same time, I feel that this will be a blessing in disguise. They need a break from a shabby performance in the World Cup, and I think they will probably come up back again. And the implications largely are that they will not be able to participate in any kind of ICC event. I'm not really sure of bilaterals and how it works. It's mostly agreements between boards that happen, and they come up with future tours program, and they're all signed off by the ICC. But definitely they won't play any ICC event until the suspension is revoked. But within the Asian Cricket Council, if a decision is made that they will have a democratic process soon, and then Sri Lanka would be able to play bilaterals again.
One Asian power, like we discussed, Sri Lanka, they have been going down, but then the wheel of time keeps churning. And kind of, do you think we can say that Afghanistan, a country that was never really in the upper echelons of cricket, they might be taking up a sweet spot as an upcoming Asian power in the game, because
They
this
almost
World Cup,
made it
the
to the
performances that they've put
semifinals.
up,
They almost made it to the semifinals. So
exactly.
absolutely, like, Afghanistan is probably the new Sri Lanka or the new Bangladesh. I would say, and even better than how Bangladesh was in the late 2000s or early 2000s. If I'm not wrong, when their cricket really started improving, you got people like Mashrafe Mortaza. You had people like
Tamim
Mustafizur
Iqbal.
Rahman, yeah, Tamim Iqbal, and others come into the ranks. I think Afghanistan, the players are really young, and by the time I think the next World Cup is here, and they would be probably the next World Cup is in South Africa, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And on those wickets,
Yep.
these players can really be a handful to face. So especially the bowlers, right? So
And Afghanistan is in their golden era of cricketers, right? So we are
yeah,
talking about players who can walk into any 11 in the world today. And that is the luxury that any associate nation would, jump at it. And I think they're here to stay. And as you mentioned, they're all very young. Most of them will be entering into their prime in the next World Cup and the one after that. So imagine somebody like Rashid Khan turning only 26 when the next World Cup is around. That
yeah.
is insane.